Welcome back. Up to 30,000 coal mine workers could go on strike. The National Union of Mineworkers says it has a strike certificate and it will give employers like Glencore, Anglo, American Coal and Exxaro 48 hours notice of intention to strike. Mines, including coal mines, have been hard hit by sliding commodity prices in the face of a slowing Chinese growth. Of course, these talks have been going on for the past couple of months, reaching a deadlock several times. To discuss, we're now joined by the NUM's chief negotiator in the coal sector, Peter Bailey. Thank you for joining us, Peter.
Thank you very much for having us.
Are we going to have a strike?
I must first outline the process for you. In any dispute that arises, when a certificate of unresolved is issued, what then happens is that the other party who receives the certificate is compelled by the Labour Relations Act to give a 48-hour notification. That 48-hour notification, only when it lapses does the other party go on strike. So you can't commence on a strike before that. So I don't know where the conflicting views come from, that the certificate, the notice is not going to be issued. The notice is certainly going to be issued. What is the issue here for us? Maybe the issue of the timing, because it's Wednesday today. The earliest we can issue the notification is tomorrow. And after that, it will be running into the weekend. So we'll decide whether we issue it tomorrow or we issue it on Monday morning. Okay,
so this is going to be issued and we're looking at a strike action kicking off on Monday or Tuesday.
If the notification is issued on Monday, the 48 hours will lapse on Wednesday morning, then the strike will commence Wednesday morning. It can't commence before that.
All right, so you may even wait till after the weekend, till Monday?
Yes, because not all the mines are working on weekends.
How many workers will go on strike?
The members of the National Union of Mineworkers is plus minus 30,000 in the coal sector, and all of them will be embarking on a strike.
Okay, so this is going to bring the coal mining sector to a standstill?
Well, unless the employers change their mind. I mean, we've been very creative in these negotiations. We tried everything in our power to avert an issuing of an unresolved certificate. I must make you understand what the issue is here. The offer of between 5.5% and 8.5% constitutes a minimum of 350 Rand wage increase for the black mine workers in South Africa, whereas their counterparts who are white are getting between 1,700 and close to 2,000 Rand wage increase. That cannot be justified.
Is this on a racial basis or on a skills and level basis?
It's both racial.
Of course, our past affects.
Well, it's both racial and class.
Yeah.
That's the divide, class and race. Okay. Unfortunately, the vast majority of the mine workers that are affected by that mega wage increase are black mine workers.
Okay, but let's just make it clear that the mines aren't saying if you're white you will receive a different increase. They're looking at certain stratas, and I understand the sticking point was the lowest earners. Were you down to about 13%, and that was the divide between 8.5% being offered and about 13%?
Francis, I think it's important that I clarify something. The mines are not saying it, but historically that is how they have been operating. That's why you would find that the vast majority of black people are in low categories of employment. It is by design, it is not by accident. So it is a race issue, whether we want to acknowledge it or not. We then, in order to...
Explain, then tell us.
No, it's a race issue because historically black mine workers, whether they were qualified or unqualified, they were kept at the lower accolades of the employment rankings. The whites, whether they were uneducated or educated, they were always a busboy and moved to being a shift boss. So it's a race issue. It's an historic event, and therefore we can live in denial as much as we want to. It is a reality of the mining industry. It's a legacy that it must eradicate. 200 years later, it hasn't done so. We're hoping that it will come to terms with the realities of democracy.
Okay, so let's focus on the lower paid workers now. and the gap between what was being asked for, what was being offered. Are you sympathetic at all that the employers are working in this very hard environment? Glencore the other day dropping by 30% on the market. There are analysts saying that there's no value in that company right now. There's nothing left. Are you not concerned a strike could lead to these workers landing up with nothing in them?
Whether, you see, Francis, I think it's important that the public is not misled by the executives of these mining houses. Whether we go on strike or we don't, whether we say we don't want an increase or we do want an increase, two things are going to happen. They continue issuing Section 189s with the intent to retrench. Secondly, the executives and the CEOs are giving themselves massive bonuses and increases, irrespective of whether things are going good or bad. It is those poor black mine workers in the lower accolades who do not earn a decent salary to, in a dignified manner, support their families, keep their children at school, and put a plate of food every night on the table. And they are asked to tighten the belt when there is no figure left to tighten the belt in.
How much are those mine workers earning at the moment?
Here is the catch. Many of them are still below 5,000 rand. And do you think that's a decent living wage for a black mine worker who cannot, with dignity, provide for his family? Surely, 22 years after democracy, there has to be change in the mining sector. They've made a killing. Why did they not cater for rainy days?
I think so many people have sympathy. But again, you came in, as I understand it, asking for an increase of 50% in quite a tough economic environment. Is that correct? And does that not raise the expectations of workers, and then you back down to 13%? And obviously everybody's going to be disappointed.
You see, sometimes making statements or utterances and they are not corrected could be perceived as the truth.
I'm giving you the chance to correct
I understand.
everything.
Thank you, Francis, for that. I think it's important that we must clarify something. The mandate given of that 50% is not a mandate that was dreamed about in a cozy office or at night time in my bed when I had this wonderful dream of bettering the lives of mine workers. That is a mandate that comes from the workers themselves.
But is it realistic? Is it realistic given that we are in recessionary conditions?
I'm getting to that, Francis. You see, the reality of the matter is negotiations is about give and take. Just as the Chamber of Mines started at a 2% wage increase, surely you could not expect us to start at where we wanted to be. That is suicidal, and that is not knowing how to the negotiating environment. So yes, they gave us a mandate. They said this is what they want. Anybody has an expectation, and an expectation does not mean that that's what they want and that is what they're going to get. We've moved that. We came up with an offer that said, give us 1,000 rand in wage increase for the lower categories of workers, where their counterparts are getting 1,700. It's justified. And the employer just totally ignored that. And this was to avert this. And the fact that we are in recession, don't blame black mine workers for that, please. Blame the capitalistic system for that which we are in today.
Are they ready, because I presume it'll be no work, no pay. Could we have another protracted strike? What will be the effect, in your opinion? And of course, South Africans will all want to know about Eskom that needs coal as well.
You see, it's an unfair question to the wrong person. I don't hold the means of production. I don't hold the decision-making powers. Ask the chamber that question. The strike will be for as long as they want it to be, or the strike will not commence at all. This is the last resort of workers only trying to test their power through the only means that they know possible. I'm
just going to pick up on what you've said, because we were saying that a strike is a fait accompli. But you're saying unless there's no strike, are you hoping that the employers will put an offer on the table?
Strike is always the last resort for workers. They take that resort when there's no other option. The employer must come to the party, try and meet them halfway, and then that strike will be averted. If not, then they must bear the consequences. Both sides will have to bear the consequences, unfortunately. Workers are used to the fact that they get punished for what they believe is right. And they are used to the fact that executives compensate themselves even after the strike, and whether the industry is in a crisis or not. We're used to that.
Thank you for your time this evening.
It's a pleasure,
That was the Chief Negotiator of the National Union of Mineworkers in the coal mining sector, Peter.